Well, hello. We're back on the back of the Jeep again for another Jeep talk here. But today I wanted to show you all this. This is history. This is you probably already know, is a 1911, a Colt 1911 U.S. Army pistol. So I wanted to show this thing off and talk about it a little bit. Probably do maybe a military firearms pistol deal here. Since I've got all the latest, of the times. But this pistol in general it's interesting. If you get a chance to collect one of these, I got this a few years ago, and if you get a chance to collect one of these, it's a great piece of history. And I mean, this thing still fires great. I think it's got the original barrel in it, probably from World War II. So if you do collect one of these pistols, you can go on the Colt website and look up the serial number, and it'll tell you when that was made. So this one in particular, this one was 1918. So 1918 on this thing that it was actually made. So it's an actual 1911. It's not an A1 version. But you might say, well, I'm a 1911 aficionado and those grips aren't right. Well, I thought the same thing. I thought, man, why would they take those original wood grips off? Because a 1911 had wood grips. And so I did some research on this. I thought it was a really interesting pistol, so I did some research. And I'm wondering why that, it looked like where the areas on this gun where it's still got some of the Parkerization here still on it. This originally was like a blued gun. It wasn't, a Parkerized gun. So I thought, man, they really ruined this thing, Why would they do that? Well, interestingly enough, you want to talk about firearms durability. This thing, was made basically at the end of World War I. So it may have shipped over there, it may not have. I'm going to lean on the side it probably wasn't, at the time it was made. I think it was probably 4 months or so before the end of the war. So, I mean, it goes to the specific date range that those serial numbers are made, like within the month. So that's kind of cool. And anyway, in researching this, I found that there's a number of versions, of course, and a number of manufacturers. I wanted to have a Colt 45. And this one is serial number 28720. So 280,000 of these were out. So very early model of this. Did have a little bit of a ding here on the side here. Not sure what would have done that, but anyway, looking at this, a lot of the 1911s to this day, have that longer trigger. The M1A1 has the trigger sets farther back. And they did that for people with smaller hands, etc. They also cut out this right here is smoothed out. So we'll go ahead and show you this is clear gun here before we start playing with this thing. All right. And just to show you some of the differences, if you're kind of new to firearms or collecting and you don't know a lot about this stuff, hopefully this video helps you out a little bit. I know this is probably not one of my best content videos as far as like seeing the new cool stuff or whatever, but there's just a reverence to a 1911 45, because they just spent so many years in service. Just incredible, So looking at these, I've got a Kimber, 45. This is a Raptor. This is a Kimber Raptor 2 stainless, and this is one of the ones. It was one of the first ones made in Troy, Alabama. So when Kimber moved the company, and it's interesting that the World War II versions of these had some of these changes. So, like right here is the cut I was talking about, where they kind of smooth that around. So the 1911 A1. That one has that, and it has the trigger recessed back farther. It just sticks out a little bit from the frame. But you can see that in the modern 1911s and 2011s even, most of them have that original 1911 style trigger that sticks out there. That's, that's really interesting that to this day, when these came out, I think they officially came out like in 1913. You can check me on that, but I think it was 1913 when the actual Army contract came through to get these. But I mean, they were actually designed in 1911, so that's why it's the model 1911. But officially, it was in August of 1913 when it came out. So, in fact, it says here, the patent here, December 19th, 1905, February 14th, 1911. This one's August 19, 1913. So you got the patent numbers on here as well, from 1897 to 1902, which is pretty interesting. I mean, to think that this gun, how old this gun is. It is over 100 years old and still firing fine. I'll tell you, I did change the springs out. I just put the, basic 1911 Wilson Combat springs in here because the beaver tail here was kind of flapping around a little bit. It was loose. So I put a new spring in there and just put a new spring kit in, just basic springs. I haven't changed the barrel out yet. The barrel's looking a little thin. I don't know if y'all can see in there, but the rifling looks a little thin. So as I'm talking here, of course, as usual, I'll be doing a little shooting too of this and take it out today and shoot this thing. So anyway, this parkerization stuff here, so I was wondering why in the heck it did that. So if you do the research on these guns and you find one that's really old like that, well, it turns out that a lot of especially these end of war 1911s were sent back to the factory and they were restamped and redone, and then sent off to World War II. So this definitely went to World War II, and that's why it's got these little like Bakelite type. I forget what they called it. They called it something different, like Colt wood or something like that. Grips here. That you see that difference, and then the fact that they stripped it down and parkerized it, took off that bluing and parkerized it. So so that's, a history on it, and that because if you do have a 1911, you want a Colt 45 1911, or I guess any other 1911 for that matter, but Colt in particular has that stuff on their website. There's marks on the gun that you probably can't see on this video, but there's marks on the gun that show, like this one here has got a AA stamp. It's got the ordnance officer that was in charge, that general there, his stamp is on there. But like this AA on here, this one went back and got completely made back over again, so it could be used in World War II. So just an interesting piece of history, and to think that a lot of these modern 1911s are, they're the same. I mean, effectively they're the same. You got the same buffer system, the same, barrel, the same everything. I mean, a lot of these parts are interchangeable to this day. So, crazy to think that this platform has lasted well over 100 years, and now it's even modified into the 2011 world, which is a little different design than this. I mean, honestly, they're not, these single stack 1911s are designed a little differently internally, but very, very much so similar. So just a really cool thing, but they're still making the 45 single stacks, and there's some other calibers as well on these guns that they're still making. So yeah, you've got, some cool serrations here, and you've got serrations on the front and the back here, and back straps and all this stuff. But they carried over this, they went back to the 1911 style trigger. The beaver tails now are, more pronounced. So overall, they've relatively remained fairly unchanged. It's incredible to think that this has gone on for so long, that this platform has lived. So no surprise the 2011 world has taken off, especially since STI and then Staccato really changed the mark on that, really upped the mark, I should say, because they made a really reliable one. They were kind of known for not being as reliable in the past. but definitely like custom type guns and competition guns. But now it's becoming a more everyday type deal. So seems like there's kind of a movement back to the steel gun era. So which is interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to show you all this and just talk about it. That if there's a gun out there, if you're a gun collector, gun enthusiast that would like to collect a gun, I'd try to get one of these if you can. The prices seem to just be going up on them. I mean, you wouldn't believe the cost of these things in really, really good condition. But I'll tell you something. For my purpose, I honestly feel that yeah, that's great that you can get a never issued or a headquarters gun that is in like perfect condition. That's really cool. I can go see those in a museum. I want a piece that's actually, has history to it. To me, that's more valuable, than somebody's, 5,000 or all the way up to 10. And I mean, it gets crazy. Dollar gun that was actually, a headquarters gun, may not have seen any combat, may not have actually have the kind of history behind it, like something like this that came in the World War I time frame and then was refurbished for, at the, ordnance facility, to send this thing to World War II. So I mean, just a real, to me, that's an amazing history, on these kinds of pieces. So sorry guys, I'm boring y'all with the old 45 talk here, and there's a lot out there, but it's very exciting. I really like this stuff, and I really enjoy that era of the more modern era of antique firearms. So I do like to collect that kind of stuff. I'm not really into the black powder and older stuff. I would like to collect a Peacemaker eventually, but they're super expensive as well. The old, Colt 45, Peacemaker. It's a revolver, single action revolver. But anyway, if y'all get a chance to collect this and you haven't, you've been thinking about it, I mean, I would save up the money, if you need to, or just go buy it and try to find one in decent condition and one that maybe has a little history to it. I think it's amazing, the history of these things, and just the fact that they're still kind of going to this day. And this one here has, good wear on it and stuff around the edges. I mean, this was definitely a used gun. This one, hit World War II. God only knows what this gun, if this gun could talk, as they say, the walls could talk. If this gun could talk, the stories it could tell would probably be amazing. Because I mean, very well, this could have even been used in Vietnam. So who knows? I have no idea as far as that goes. But what I do know, it was remanufactured for World War II. All right, so this thing's over 100 years old, not a single malfunction. It's a little bit looser, throughout its time. I was actually pushing on the button here when I was doing my hold because I'm a lefty. So I pushed the slide stop out a little bit, and the slide wasn't locking back on the mags. So that's interesting. But these aren't ambidextrous here, or ambidextrous. These are all designed for a right-handed person. There's no controls on the right-hand side of the gun. Everything's on the left-hand side of the gun there. So a little harder, obviously, to pick up that little blade front sight, there in the sights. But, man, it's still accurate, I was shooting the little small targets over there that are just the swingers. They don't make noise when you shoot them. But just, hitting, even with that barrel being so old, I haven't done anything with that yet. But man, the carbon just, it cakes on the carbon around the top here, from these parts. But still, it fires. It's still a great firing gun. It's still pretty accurate for what it's doing, and what it was designed for. And I'm smiling, guys. Like, I'm really excited about this, to shoot a gun with so much history that was in the hands of a soldier in war. I was a soldier in war myself, but not like this kind of war. World War II and World War I were totally different animal. Just unbelievable, the history on this. All right, y'all. Well, I guess enough of the history talk today. I probably bored you to death on that one, but I find it interesting, and hope that you do too. All right, y'all. Well, if you like this kind of content, Please like and subscribe, helps my channel. I really do appreciate it. And with that, be sure and check me out on Sundays. I try to release a new video every Sunday, sometimes midweek. I just did one midweek this last week. But every Sunday I should have a video release, so check me out. So with that, y'all stay frosty, stay safe, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.